Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for Detour number 16, and this is Infinifactory. Now, before we get to the game, I quickly want to talk a little bit about this series, because I don't think I've ever properly defined what the series is, or actually defined what the series is on video. I think it says in the description on my YouTube page, on my website, on my schedule page, but I don't think anyone's actually read that. So in this video, I'm going to define the series. And quite simply, it is a series about games that I want to talk about for some reason or another. It's mostly going to be because I think they are good and I like them, and it might occasionally be because I think they are bad and I want to talk about why I think they are bad. And I think that's only happened once so far in No Man's Sky. But mostly it's going to be a positive series, and I'm going to show you good games. And I generally am not going to make series out of these games, mostly because of time constraints, but also for other reasons. But mostly time constraints, really. If I could, I would make a series of all of my games that I like. But if you do see a game on the series that you would like to see me play more of, feel free to send me a message or a comment or something telling me that, and I might end up making a series of it in the future. And that's pretty much that. So without further ado, let's get back to Infinifactory. So this is a game by Zachtronics, the creator of Space Chem, as well as Tis 100, and the more recently released Chensen IO, which I've played a little of, and I might make a video of that at some point when I've played more of it. But this game is similar in concept to Space Chem, in that you are assembling things, basically. Except that this is, of course, in 3D instead of 2D. And it has a sci-fi theme. I skipped the introductory bit, which was just before here. We came from that door. And this is the first point when you're really allowed to interact with a proper factory. So I'm going to basically play through the beginning of the game. Not too far into it. There's going to be plenty of content to discover if you would like to play this for yourself or watch someone else play it, of course. So basically, it's rather simple. We have an input and we have an output. The output wants 10 of these blocks. These are conveyors, obviously, and they are going to take blocks from the input to the output. And we can fast forward, and that's that. Now, obviously, this is a puzzle game, and we are going to get to place blocks ourselves. And we need to get the input to the output. And it is super simple and not challenging at all so far. And it's going to be a little while before it actually becomes challenging, of course. But eventually, we are going to get to... Yeah, pretty glad that door didn't open. So, you know. Hello. Right. So that's the first tutorial over, I guess, introducing the most basic concepts of the game. And as you can see, we've been kidnapped by aliens, essentially, and we are going to be forced to make them things, or make things for them. So this is how the remainder of the game is played. We have this screen. We'll go in, and we have a bunch of puzzles to solve. And we have training routine 1 at the moment, and we're going to create a solution for that. And we are still only in the introductory bit. We are getting very basic puzzles. If I hold down Shift, I get this menu where I will have all of the blocks that I can use to construct things. Of course, this being the beginning, I don't really have any. I just have the conveyor. Now we have 3 inputs and we have 3 outputs. And the tricky bit here is that they are needing to cross one another. It's not that hard though. This particular one, we don't really need to do anything too fancy. Let's see. Just need to... Alright, we can do that. So we're going to have to do this so we don't block that other one. One more. And then we can just pull that out there. And then we are going to start the factory. And there we go. And from now on, we get these evaluations. And we have these 3 different stats that you might recognize from Mindchem if you've played that. I think it has something similar. Now, the cycle is essentially how much time it took for you to complete all of the requirements for all of the outputs. And time is measured in cycles, which is how long the factory has been running since you started it. So if we click play again, currently the factory is paused. If I hit R, I'm going to start it. And you can see in the bottom left, bottom right, how many cycles have passed. If I stop the factory and restart it, the cycles will reset. Now I can press T to pause. Now you'll also notice that it says footprint. If we press P, we can see the footprint, which was the second score. And that is basically how many tiles have been covered by outputs or input blocks. And later on we will have larger structures that move about. And basically, if a block moves across a tile, even though it is not on a conveyor, that will count towards your footprint. And blocks is simply how many blocks you've used in your factory. So the fewer blocks you've used, the better. So we go back to our cell. We solve that. We get some information about the conveyor. And then we also unlock the next puzzle. We're going to do that too. We now get introduced to welding. So we now have an output that wants 2 blocks, but since they are next to each other, that means they need to be welded together. So we have 2 inputs, and we're going to need these 2 blocks to come over here to the center, obviously. Now if we go into shift, we have 2 new blocks. They are variations of the same block, just facing different directions. We also get the platform, which is just a basic block that doesn't really do anything. Now if we put down a welder, nothing is going to happen. If we put down 2 welders, they are going to work together. So when 2 blocks enter these 2 spaces, they're going to be automatically welded together. And then they are going to behave as a single structure. And we want that structure to come down here to the output. And now we start. And that's basically it. Now if we pause here and show the footprint, you'll see that these blocks here are covered by the footprint, even though there aren't any conveyors there, because we have blocks moving over them simply. Let's complete this and move on to the next puzzle. Then we get some information about the platform and the welder, and we unlock the 3 remaining puzzles, which we can solve in any order, but we need to solve three of them to move on. There. Okay. Here we get introduced to weighting. So now we need 3 blocks welded together in the output, but we only have the 1 input. And this one is rather simple. We will put, as the schematic here shows, if we put 2 platforms there, they're going to act as a weighting area. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a platform there, and we're going to put 2 welders here. And I think I should be able to remove that. Oh, no. I had to try that because I couldn't remember. But blocks do need to be supported. I knew that. But I thought it might have worked diagonally, but that was not correct. So now, as you can see, the blocks are waiting. 3 blocks get welded together, and then they go to the output. Still pretty simple. But this game does get rather tricky at certain points, as some puzzle games have a tendency to do, even though the mechanics remain rather simple. Basically, it's just placing various blocks. Here's a little bit of a tricky one. We have 2 inputs. We have a gray box and a black box, and they need to be welded together in this configuration. Now, we could put conveyors here and there, and then maybe just put welders like that. Would that work? No. Because they're not going to land at the same time. And then we get an error because the output is getting the wrong configuration. Now, we can't put a platform here because the blocks won't move off of it. Right? They'll just stack on top of each other and nothing will happen. Even though we got them welded together correctly this time, this is not what we want. No. The solution to this is, oops, pretty simple. We're going to put a platform block here. So what's going to happen now is that. So a black box is going to sit here and wait. And it's going to sit there and wait until the next block comes along, which is just what we want. Now, we don't want the next block to be a gray block. So we're going to put a conveyor up here. Comes out like that. So the gray block is going to fall on top of that one. Whoops. Well, that wasn't my intention, obviously. But you can see how it works now when we don't fall off. The structure automatically gets pushed off by the next black box. And then the next gray box falls on top of it, and they get welded together. And then we needed 10 of those, of course. And then we solve the last one. And now we need 3 blocks welded together in a horizontal configuration. So we're going to pull that there. That there. And then we're going to pull this one up to here. Now here, we're going to put platforms. And then we're going to put a platform like that. And then we're going to use these horizontal welders like that. And I think we should be able to just do this and that. We'll see what happens. Okay, that's not quite what we want. I think what we want to do is put in a platform here to delay those blocks a little bit. There we go. Pretty simple. Still. So now we're going to get a review of this section, the proving grounds. Performance review. It's going to summarize how well we did. And they're going to talk a little bit about in their weird language, which Kangaroo Kickers 09. So we get a random trophy from Earth, probably. Put it on what I presume is the toilet, and then we get some food. And now we have unlocked the first real section. Munitions refill type 2. So we're going to have a look at this, and then I'm going to end the video, because I think that'll be enough. So we get introduced to something new, and that is pistons and triggers. So we have these boxes that we need to get to that output from here. The problem is that we have these pre-built conveyors here, and the boxes get pushed into this wall. So we need to get them off this conveyor. So, of course, for that, we have a pusher. That's not what I meant to do. We have a sensor, and this one is pointing downwards. We need to put that there. And then we have a conduit to connect them. And then we are going to put our own conveyors here. which is going to take our boxes to the output. And then we press play. And there we go. Pretty simple, still. But you are going to unlock even more blocks that do different things. And you're going to need to combine them in creative ways to solve a lot of tricky puzzles. And I have played through the entire main campaign of this game, which came out when the game launched, which was in 2015, by the way. And I really liked it. And since then, the game has gotten some additional content, which I haven't fully played through yet, actually, which I should probably do at some point. Maybe if someone comments, I'll make a series out of that in the future. Who knows? So, that was Infinifactory. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.